all I was a subscriber, an anonymous subscriber. All right. And I got their newsletter and I did some of what they suggested, and it worked out for me. So I bought a lifetime membership. And again, I didn't have any contact with anybody at Oxford. I just said it was pretty good. And then they got onto it. They're not real swift on the uptake. It took them like 12 years to figure out, oh, that might be Bill O'Reilly. And then they said, hey, would you interview one of our top guys, Alex Green? I said, sure. And the reason I did it, because I don't do this stuff often, was because I wanted you to see what Green has to say. You see, if it worked for me, it could work for you. That's the only reason I did it. So here's Alex Green from Orlando, Florida. He is the chief investment strategist for the Oxford Club. Now, it's a pretty fair setup, would you say?
I'd say it was, and thank you for being a subscriber, Bill.
Well, listen, it was for my benefit. I wasn't doing you any favors. Your advice worked for me. Might not work for somebody else. I always say you're going to get into the investment game, no matter what the investment is, you could lose. So always keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm getting these letters, and people are basically saying they want me to be Karnak the Magnificent, the old Johnny Carson, and predict what's going to happen, and I can't. What do you see for the stock market the rest of 2021?
Right. Well, I should begin by saying that not just me and not just you, but no one can accurately and consistently predict what the economy is going to do. It's just too complicated. There's too many moving parts. You've got interest rates and currencies and commodity prices and government policies and scientific innovations and business developments and so on. However, I will say that Joe Biden, while he inherited the pandemic, he also inherited some pretty positive things, including a Federal Reserve that's just pulling out all the stops. I mean, they're buying up bonds to reduce yields to stimulate growth. They're holding interest rates near zero, which makes it cheaper for consumers and businesses and governments to borrow. And of course, the government has spent, not just spent, but our deficit for the last 13 months, when you include the new $1.9 trillion relief package, is $6.4 trillion in additional debt. So when you have ultra low interest rates and trillions of dollars in deficit spending, obviously that's going to have a positive economic effect. And that's what the economy, what investors sense, is that when you look forward between the pandemic receding and the economy reopening and all these consumers flush with cash because of the stimulus and because the savings rates at a 50-year high, it's very likely that the second half of this year is going to be a barn burner, because everyone's going to get out and dine and travel and spend and make up for lost time. And so that's a near-term plus for the economy, and the stock market simply reflecting that reality.
All right, let me stop you there. So a lot of people say the debt at 30 trillion is unsustainable. You can't sustain it. And that will, down the road, nobody knows when, come back and make the economy painful. How would that unfold? We're talking now conjecture, but how would that unfold?
Well, you can look throughout history and see that there have been countries like Greece and Argentina and Zimbabwe, and going back to the Weimar Republic, when debt gets out of hand, it produces an economic catastrophe. However, that catastrophe isn't going to happen until investors start to sense that the government can't actually finance its debt, when it has trouble making the interest payments on the debt, which could happen if interest rates normalize. I mean, we've had ultra low interest rates for so low. If interest rates would go to 4 or 5% on government debt, it means that what the government would be paying annually would be trillions more in interest, and it could have all kinds of negative ramifications. So the market's ignoring that now because investors look out 6 to 9 months, not 6 to 9 years. I'm not saying it would take that long, but no one has any concern that the U.S. government isn't going to be able to finance its debt for the next year or two. So that's
is there any way that individuals can protect themselves from 6 years from now when all this comes home?
Right. Well, it's probably too early to protect yourself from the debt that's mounting now, but ultimately they need inflation hedges like Treasury inflation protected securities, or TIPS for short. Gold is an inflation hedge, gold and silver, and gold equities, the companies that pull those out of the ground. natural resource companies of all kinds, like oil and gas. But I think it's important for all investors to remember you want to have a diversified portfolio. You want to have something in case the future is worse than people expect, but you want to also have something in case it's better than people expect.
Yeah,
Because
I got it. I got it. So the commodities and the gold and the silver at least afford you some kind of protection if the worst happens. Now let's go into the taxes. There's no doubt that the Biden administration is going to raise taxes or try. Maybe the Republicans will be able to block it in the Senate, maybe not. The wealth tax is in play. That's confiscation of private property. And people go, well, I want to hand money down to my my children and grandchildren. How do I do that? I say that everybody now with assets has to have a lawyer, a financial lawyer, to help them navigate themselves, because you're going to need to protect your money against the government. The government's coming for your money. Am I wrong?
right, right. No, you're absolutely right. In fact, Joe Biden ran promising to raise individual tax rates, promising to raise the corporate tax rate, promising to raise taxes on dividends and capital gains. And it's no secret. I'm hoping the wealth tax doesn't happen because, Bill, I agree with you. It's flatly unconstitutional. The Fifth Amendment of the United States says plainly that to take private property for public uses requires just compensation. So you can't just come in and take someone's money or assets because they have a lot of it. But your introduction was absolutely right, Bill. When the government raises taxes on corporations and affluent individuals, a company, anything that the government does to encourage business formation and expansion is positive for people, because that means if they have a tax cut, as the one Trump enacted, they have more money to expand, more money for research and development, more money for capital equipment, more money for hiring, more money for technology or for raising wages. And if you raise taxes, they have less money for all those things. And so people who think it's only right the government raise taxes on corporations, they need to understand, first of all, we had the highest corporate tax rate in the developed world at 35%. And under the Trump administration, they brought it down to 21%. And according to the Tax Foundation, the average corporate tax rate in Europe, in the European Union, is 21.8%. So it's not like we're giving money away to corporations. And if we raise corporate tax rates, we make U.S. corporations less globally competitive. How is that a good thing for American workers? They have less money for wages and equipment and technology.
It's not.
And
It's going to hurt.
dividend
And you
share
think
buy.
that Biden would know that after 8 years of Obama? After 8 years where the economy was moribund, didn't do anything, no matter
Exactly.
what kind of propaganda they put. All right, last question. So I'm in a position where I'm looking at a whole bunch of things to protect my assets and to be able to pass my assets down, not only to my children, but to charitable foundations and things like that. But it takes a little bit of money. You're going to have to spend it on advisors and lawyers and things like that. But I think this is the key. You really have to know all of your options to protect yourself against your own government. Because these
Right.
people, if they get more power, these progressives, they want socialism. Last word.
Right. Well, you're right, Bill. When the income tax was enacted, only the top 1% paid any tax at all. If we have a wealth tax enacted, maybe it's first billionaires, then millionaires, then the upper middle class. So to get their foot in the door and even begin taxing wealth I think is a huge negative, not to mention unconstitutional. And raising interest rates on individuals and corporations is the wrong way to go about it. A better thing to do is to raise the tax base by growing the economy, simplifying the tax code, eliminating all the loopholes that people have to buy expensive tax shelters and lawyers. And because I don't, any more than you, I don't want to see billionaires not paying any taxes. So
Yeah, let's just
make
have a flat tax or
a
a
flat tax.
VAT or a temporary VAT to overcome the COVID stuff. There are creative ways, but that's not, you know what that. These people don't want that, Alex. They want to
No,
punish the wealthy. They
it
want to
takes
punish.
it takes away their power. They want to
Right?
tweak the tax code so that they can use their power and get reelected too.
Yeah, because the more money you have, the more freedom you have, the more personal power you have. They don't want that. And that's what's going on. Alex Green from the Oxford Club. Fellow Americans, I am concerned about the US dollar. Huge debt, as you know. Will it stay as the world's reserve currency? That's why now more than ever, I recommend you diversify with gold and silver. And the only company I recommend, and have for years, is American Hartford Gold. I trust them. I've personally done business with them. They sell physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA. And they make it very easy. So call them right now. Make sure you tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they will give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. Since I have been recommending American Hartford Gold, gold shot up more than 40%. Silver, more than 60%. So don't wait. Call them now. 866-501-5201. 866-501-5201. Or text Bill to 65532. Again, that's 866-501-5201. Or text Bill to 65532. Bill O'Reilly here. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure you subscribe to the First TV YouTube page. Just hit the big red subscribe button below, and you'll get clips and highlights of my program, The No Spin News, every single day. We'll see you soon.